Well, the 86th Annual Academy Awards are coming up this Sunday. It's going to be broadcast on ABC. And all this week, Brandy, McDonnell, and I are talking about who our picks are to win in the various categories. Now, to get right to it, we're going to talk about the best actor in a leading role. Let's list them. Christian Bale for American Hustle, Bruce Dern for Nebraska, Leonardo DiCaprio for The Wolf of Wall Street, Chiwetel Ejiofor for 12 Years a Slave, and Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club. Okay, yeah, this is interesting stuff. This could be a real, I think of all of the categories, this is the one that is in the most flux. I really think so.
Well, I think it's the most competitive because here is a little bit of alternate universe sort of things for you. Mm-hmm. Here's who the nominees are not. Yeah. They are not Tom Hanks in Captain Phillips or Saving Mr. Banks. They are not Joaquin Phoenix in Her. They are not Oscar Isaac for Inside Llewyn Davis. Ugh. They are not Robert Redford for All Is Lost. They are not Miles Teller for Spectacular Now. Those are 5 nominees right there. You could have a completely different category. A completely different contest. That's how competitive the Best Actor Oscar race is this year.
And we talk about the reasons why some of this happens. Mm-hmm. Tom Hanks works really hard. He does 2 great performances in a single year, and they cancel each other out. It's like, we thought you were great in Captain Phillips. We also thought you were great in Saving Mr. Banks. And half of us are going to vote this way, half of us are going to vote that way, splits it.
Yeah, and splitting it is could be a big factor in this race with what we actually have. Because I think that you have a real big issue or a big potential for Chiwetel Ejiofor and Matthew McConaughey to potentially split a vote, because I think those are the front runners, and whenever you have two really strong front runners like that, a dark horse is always a possibility. Right. I personally would love to see Bruce Dern win it for Nebraska. I've been a big fan of his for a long time, and this is his second nomination. His last one was in 1968 for Coming Home. He's done some really
78.
Yeah. He's done some really interesting work over the years, and I'm not a fan of the body of work Oscar if it's like a Pacino for Scent of a Woman, but this is a great. This is a great performance on its own. Right. I think that it stands on its own. It's if you haven't seen Nebraska, it's worth seeing just for the black and white cinematography and for this performance, because he's playing an old man who is insisting on going on this road trip from Montana to Nebraska to collect $1 million sweepstakes prize that pretty much everyone in his family is telling him is just a scam. It doesn't exist. Right. And I got to the end of that movie and I honestly couldn't tell whether he was actually addled enough to believe it or whether he's just crazy like a fox and is doing all of this to kind of get his way with his family. It's a great performance, a very canny, nuanced performance. So I would love to see him win it. I really think that McConaughey is going to be tough to beat. I just think that as far as, again, it comes into body of work, and it's almost impossible to ignore in his case. He has gone from being that lackluster performance in
every Kate Hudson romantic comedy,
poor
right?
Kate Hudson. Yeah. Cruddy rom-coms, just everywhere on his resume. And in the last couple of years, he's turned it around. He's absolutely made a career turnabout. I think if you take this and you take Mud, and then he sort of has what we've dubbed the anti-Norbert on his resume, that killed Eddie Murphy's campaign for Oscar starring in a cruddy movie. Well, now Matthew McConaughey is sort of gilding the lily a little bit with True Detective, where he's turning out some great work that for all to see on HBO every week. So I don't know. I think that McConaughey probably will manage to edge everybody out and win it. I'd love to see Bruce Dern win. And if Chiwetel wins it, I'm not going to say no. I'll be just as happy for that guy.
If True Detective were an 8-hour movie...
It'd be almost as long as the Oscars?
Yes, that's right. But he would be an absolute shoo-in winner. It's such a great performance.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's a sure thing that McConaughey wins. I think that this will be a game of degrees. Ejiofor I mean, throughout the movie, I mean, most of the focus is on Solomon Northup in the movie. And at the end, I mean, it all comes to a head with this extraordinary emotional outpouring at the conclusion. And when I saw that, and it just tears your heart out, I believed at the very beginning, and this was back in during the summer when I saw it. I believed, okay, this is absolutely his year. McConaughey, though, in Dallas Buyers Club, it's he kind of does a reverse De Niro and loses a ton of weight, but it's also one of those performances where McConaughey disappears into the character, and that's kind of hard with McConaughey. I mean, he's kind of iconic in his his mannerisms and all of the things, the big personality that we associate with him. No, he really becomes this character, and so it's close. It's close. I think Ejiofor, if I had my choice, would win it. McConaughey wins it, though.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's those two are their performances and the kind of things that Oscar voters like to give awards for. I mean, you have McConaughey with a very transformational performance where he's practically unrecognizable because of all the weight. The way he makes himself look very sickly, which isn't just makeup. Some of it's makeup, but some of it is just the way that he ate and the way that he lived. Pretty much didn't eat. Yeah. But I also think that Chiwetel puts out this performance that Oscar voters also like because it's acting within acting. I mean, he's playing this slave who's having to kind of, who's this freedman who's become a slave, who kind of has to subsume all of that anger and all of that sense of injustice in order to survive as a slave. I mean, so it's acting within acting. And I think that those kind of layered performances Oscar voters also like. So it'll be a very interesting race because those are two types of performances that voters really go for.
You think McConaughey?
I think McConaughey pulls it off.
I think just by a hair. Okay, for all of your Oscar needs, come to NewsOK.com. We're going to be tweeting this out. We're going to be blogging. We're going to do a live chat. We're going to do just about everything that we can all week for Oscar. And for all of your information, before you watch the Oscars at 6 o'clock on Sunday on ABC, come to NewsOK.com.